I'll now hand over to Mark, and he'll take us through the session.
When I was looking through this book, so I don't know if you've opened it up. There's a picture of Laurence here, and it looks a bit like he's got a halo that he's wearing, and there's some suggestion that that's because the Irish sent all their criminals out to Australia 200 years ago, guilty, and you used to get a free loaf of bread with the boat ride as well. Having said that, the conference dinner the other day, they were putting out the meals alternately, and I just turned away for a second. I'm sure it was no longer than a second, and I thought I was due to get the beef, right? And then I came back to the table and I had the mushroom and chicken. So I won't say who I was sitting next to, but there might still be some criminals left in Ireland. Yeah, that's my conclusion. Oh, where's this pointer? Okay, so Dairy Base. It's a great resource for the New Zealand dairy industry. We've got a lot of farms, physical and financial data in there for over 12 years now. And so we'll start here going back to look at what we've seen for over that period. So operating return on assets, the top 25% did 7% operating return versus others 4%. Okay? And so what you have there, 7% versus 4%, is people making either more than the bank or less than the bank. Okay? And I think you work harder than the bank Johnny, so I think you should be aiming to make more money than the bank Johnny. And there was a bit of thought, years ago that as long as the farm's ticking over, the capital gain is going to come through and that's going to sort out my problems. When we look at the Economic Farm Survey data over 20 years, so over that period, the operating return averaged about 3 to 4%. Okay? 10 to 20 years ago, the capital gain was 5.5% per annum over inflation. Okay, so if you take a 4% operating return and you add 5.5% capital gain over inflation, that's a reasonable return. But in the last decade, the average capital gain over inflation has been 0.2%. Okay? And it doesn't matter what number you add 0.2% to, it doesn't get much bigger. Okay? So the point is, if you're farming for a return, you're going to have to do it through operating return. Okay? And that's what we're talking about today. So what are some of the key differences? So the pasture and crop eaten, so there's over a tonne advantage to the top 25%. They have a slightly higher stocking rate, so this is just Canterbury data, I should say. So slightly higher stocking rate, slightly higher milk solids per cow. But where did that milk solids come from? Okay? If we look at import and grazing feed, it's not statistically significant, if anything slightly less. So this increasing milk solids per cow is a result of getting higher pasture and crop harvest. Okay, so milk solids per hectare, so it's about 100 kilos in there, a result of the higher milk solids per cow and the higher stocking rate. The operating expenses per hectare, so that's $700 a hectare less. That's despite having a higher stocking rate. I mean, that's massive. That just speaks to the power of cost control. Operating expenses per kilo of milk solids, so we're taking a lower operating expenses, dividing by a slightly higher milk solids, $4.10 versus $4.80, so an 80-cent advantage to the top 25%, and that's almost exactly the same in the Waikato as well. Gross farm revenue, so 640 versus 647, not statistically significant, but if anything, the top 25% is lower. So the operating profit that drops out the bottom is basically 80 cents higher operating profit per kilo of milk solids, and that sort of gives you the top line, the operating profit per kilo of milk solids and the milk solids per hectare. Profit on the top line. The bottom line is assets. So the top 25% had less money tied up in assets. Okay, so whether that's red paint, green paint, blue paint, or any other colour bloody paint, there was less asset value. There may also be, perhaps slightly harder farms, or perhaps further away from towns, where towns push up the value of the assets. So, what do we know makes more money? So this pasture and crop harvest, it's worth an extra $300 a hectare roughly. Waikato was $2.94, came out exactly with current exchange rates to the dollar, to the same as the Irish number. The Canterbury number, $2.68, so a little bit lower, but it's in that ballpark. And what you're, and that does change a little bit depending year on year, or the milk solids payout, or region. But it's in that ballpark. Okay, so let's go talk a bit more about the supplement. So more supplement equals more milk. Does it equal more money? So this is some work done by Lincoln University, and they looked at low, system 1 and 2, medium, high, system 4 and 5. And so as you progress through that intensification, did you make more milk solids? Well, the answer is unquestionably yes. But if you ask the question, did you make more profit or more return on assets? Well, it was not significant, but numerically lower. So the trend was negative. Now, why is that? I mean, you can do these bloody sums in your head, right? So I'm going to get paid $6.25 a kilo of milk solids. I can land palm kernel at $3.40 a tonne, 90% dry matter. If I get an 80 gram response, there's about a $1.50 margin in that. Okay, that's got to be a winner. Why doesn't that happen? And I think this graph is the answer. So Roche talked a little bit about this yesterday. But if you spend $1 on imported supplement, and here we've included winter grazing. If you spend $1 on supplement, and here we've included winter grazing, your operating expenses should go up by $1. That's just maths. You spend $1, your costs go up by $1. But what actually happens is it goes up by $1.53. You bought some palm kernel or whatever else, and all these other costs are coming behind to follow it. And is this some random statistical aberration? Laurence would say bollocks. I've never cursed in my life before I met this fella. Waikato, $1.68, same as the UK, $1.62. Canterbury and Ireland, to the cent, $1.53. So it's totally something in that ballpark. Okay, so if you took your bloody supplement price and multiplied it by 1.5 to account for all the system costs that are going to come in behind it, it turns the margin on that extra milk negative.